I think their first looks or first touches are designed more for photography.
You might see that thing in your final video and you might be like, why did we do that? Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Gimbal Guys podcast with myself, Sam, and my business partner, Nick. Coming to you on a Thursday morning, mid-morning / early afternoon. Nick, how has your week gone so far? As if we haven't been talking for the last hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh my God. Not the stage. How is your day going?
Listen, every podcast needs to have at least one of those.
Literally, for those of you listening, we've been talking for the last 3 hours. So
I actually don't know how his day is going, so fair enough.
So far, so good. I literally got up, showered, came to the office, and filmed these. So this has been my entire day. So far, so good.
Which you just moved into your very own office studio space. How has that been going?
It's been good. So for those of you watching my video feed, this is one of the first, I guess, little talking head angles that I've kind of set up. I've had 2 product shoots in here so far. I mean, I've only been here for a couple weeks, but yeah, the main reason for this space is for me to do some product filmmaking. And I mean, yeah, I think it's going to be good. It's going to be good.
Yeah, I'm totally jealous of the fact that you have a dedicated office space. I mean, I just moved as well, but into a new apartment, and I'm kind of just dealing with this corner of the bedroom. But hey, you can kind of make anything work. I've got a nice, sweet desk set up.
We've definitely worked with worse.
Oh my God, yeah, so much worse. So if you do hear any extraneous sounds from my feed, it's probably a truck backing up outside because I'm on a busy street, or miscellaneous vacuum cleaner, people stepping around upstairs. And if you hear anything on Nick's feed, it's probably somebody talking too loud on the phone or drilling, or that's just what happens.
I don't know if the mic's going to pick it up, but I heard someone drilling down the hall. So hopefully you don't hear that. But
usually, yeah. You know what though? Usually when anybody says that, it never comes through in the audio, and people are like, what are you talking about? So we're probably always overthinking about that sort of thing. It's like, we can hear it because our ears are super tuned to those extra sounds, but it's most people don't hear it.
So true. No one cares. No one cares.
There's a plane.
So what are we talking about today?
Oh yeah. We're talking about, this is a hot one. First looks. Should you do them? Kind of everything you need to know about first looks, and are they good or bad? Our opinions, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I think, should we let's give our perspective on our personal opinions on first looks. I'll let you go first, and then I'll share my opinion, because I think I must sound like a broken record. I say the same thing to all of our couples who are on the fence, but
you do
share your insight first.
It's your little spiel.
I have a spiel.
But yeah, we both definitely like first looks. Again, because our films are very narrative driven, so we rely heavily on audio and little sound, not just all the audio, but little sound bites, the meaningful sound bites. And for the most part, a lot of the best ones come from the first look because they're so genuine, and it's one of, if not the most real and raw moments of the entire day, the first time they're seeing each other. So yeah, whenever we do get a first look plus private vows said at the first look, that is just perfect for us, because those private vows in combination to their genuine real emotions gives us all the audio we need to make an amazing video. But yeah, what is your little spiel that you tell everyone?
Yeah. I say, if you're on the fence, do a first look. If you are at all thinking about one or the other, the biggest argument that people have against the first look is, I want to have that moment where where they see me walking down the aisle and they're getting all emotional, and like I want that to be the first time they see me. And like, cool, if that's what
Right.
you both want,
And
do
that's
it. I'm not
traditional.
going to
Yeah,
tell
and
you
that's
otherwise.
that's great.
It's traditional. However, I think a first look is great for two main reasons and a few others. The main reason I think it's great is a logistical standpoint. So it is a logistical advantage. It's a fact that it's a logistical advantage when you do a first look. You are essentially able, if you do a first look and you see your person prior to the ceremony, you can do bridal party photos, family photos, all those formal things, formal photos prior to the ceremony. You can knock those out of the way so that
Right.
when your
Because you're
cocktail
not
hour
worried about
comes,
seeing each other anymore.
exactly, when your cocktail hour comes, you can enjoy that to the fullest. Like cocktail hours aren't cheap, especially on the East Coast. I know the East Coast has some like, I guess, higher end cocktail hours than some other places, but like if you pay for a cocktail hour and all the appetizers and the drinks that go out during that time and the space that you need for a cocktail hour, and you can't even like go and enjoy it, like it's, to me that seems kind of pointless. So it's a huge logistical advantage because you now basically buy back your cocktail hour time where you can go interact with the rest of your guests that you may not get to see for the rest of the night, instead of taking family photos and that sort of stuff.
Right.
Because you got to do the family pictures. It's, some people don't love them, but you got to have it for the mantle, and get those photos with mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, all those things. So you have those memories of those people. So it's a huge logistical advantage doing the first look. But, you know, timelines aside, Nick kind of mentioned this already, but it is like is one of the most raw and emotional moments on the day. And I think it is such a huge stress reliever. I have watched um like all the stress come off people's shoulders when they turn around and see their person
Yep.
for the first time. And it's
Yeah.
intimate. I mean, obviously, like photographers, videographers are there capturing the whole moment, but we stay off to the side so that you guys can just be. It's so special to watch. It really is. And the vendor table has said this, and I have experienced the same thing. It's like I haven't heard anybody say they regret doing a first look. People say they
So true.
regret not doing a first look, but they don't say they regret doing a first look. Like it's just so raw, emotional, that weight is lifted off your shoulders, and you really just get to fully let loose and enjoy the rest of your day. And Nick mentioned the whole private vows thing. You can basically share that moment with your person. We give a little we have another little spiel for when people do first looks that I'll have Nick talk about, because he's always the one giving it. He's the comforting one. But yeah, it's a moment that you can just take for just the two of you, because the rest of the day is kind of craziness in a way. But yeah, that is why I love first looks. I've touched on it in previous episodes, but I'm an engaged man, and I know I will be doing a first look at my wedding. And if anybody's on the fence about it, that's the direction I urge you to go in. Nick,
Yeah.
tell everybody about how we structure our first looks, and how we kind of like let that moment unfold.
Yeah. So when it comes to first look, it happens, right after they're both done getting ready. So when it comes to getting ready, for the most part, Sam and I will split up and we alternate, right? So whoever is with the bride that day will be there, and whoever's with the groom will help the groom first go set up at the first look spot. And we'll have him kind of, make sure that they're in position. The second photographer is normally there as well, so they can really coordinate, where they want it to happen. So the groom will always be set up and just pretty much waiting for the bride to be ready. And pretty much if I'm on the bride side that day, I'll come down first before the bride's on her way. And honestly, this is one of the first times, if not sometimes the actual first time, where I'm seeing the groom as well. So I get to say a quick
In
hello to
person.
him. Yeah, in person, in person.
We always connect with them
So
prior to fact.
we'll do Zoom calls and stuff like that. Yeah, but first time seeing him in person for the most part, and this gives me a good opportunity to, yeah, like Sam said, really try and calm him one last time before the bride comes down. And this is definitely something that we took from Jake Weiser from the Runaway Vows. He had this little spiel that now both of us, Sam and I, say to our grooms whenever we get the chance. It's pretty much just,
He has a soothing voice, so it helps, but we
in
try
like
our
your
best to do
most
the same.
calm, soothing voice. You just got to let them know like that this moment is about them. And, this is our one moment throughout the day that we're not going to pose you. And whether it's, you want to take 10 seconds, 10 minutes, do what you need to do. And when you're done, look to us and we'll take it from there. And we definitely have had some really, really short ones they literally turn around and they're like, oh, wow, you look great. And then they look at us like, all right, now what? And then we've also had some that have gone upwards of 10 minutes. So we really have seen everything. But yeah, I think the best are still the ones that have those personal vows comboed in there.
Hmm. Yeah. And photographers, you know who you are. We talk about this with photographers on the day of, like, if there's a first look at a wedding, we say like, hey, we want this moment to be as genuine as possible. We have told the couple to look at us when they feel like we're done. So if you are a
Right.
photographer, please do not insert yourself into the situation
Which has
prematurely.
happened.
It has
I
happened.
mean, so we say like we
little
won't
too
pose
many
you.
times.
Can't say
Yeah.
I can't speak for the photographer, but we won't
Yes.
pose you during this moment.
Yeah. So photographers, please let the moment just unfold. They will tell all of us when they're ready to be posed and move on to the next thing. Do
Yeah.
not step in too early, because that is such an awkward moment. And it almost makes us look bad in a way to the couple, because, we've
Oh
told
yeah,
them
because
like,
we
this
get
moment is
tied
for
in with them all
you.
the time.
Yeah. So if you're a photographer and you're doing a first look, think about that for a second.
Yeah,
Allocate when we're going through timelines and logistics and things like that. Allocate more time than we think we need for the actual first look, because then if they do a quick one, then we have more time with the couple for some extra portraits and things like that. It's like, give them that
and
time
like
to
yeah,
actually like decompress.
I get it from
It's
like the timeline's perspective and the photographer being, a little bit more in charge of the timeline. They want to keep things going. I get it, but just be a real human and understand that this is like their one time to really just relax for like 5 minutes. Just let them have 5 minutes. Like it's just common sense.
yeah, 100%. Another thing too about first looks, I mentioned the argument people have of, saying like, oh, I want the first time they see me to be when I'm coming down the aisle, and I want them to cry. I want them to be super emotional. And if we do a first look, that's not going to happen. Let me tell you. Well, first of all, if your partner is not a crier, they're not going to cry at either thing,
Right.
the
I
first
hate
look
it when
or down
people
the
say
aisle.
that. Like
So
you don't
you
have to
can't
cry just
bank,
because.
you can't not do a first look because you're expecting that person to cry, because you will be disappointed. It just won't happen. Um,
Right.
we had a wedding this past summer where they did a first look and private vows. They spent, I want to say, like 20 minutes throughout this process. They decompressed. They talked all about their mornings. They hashed out their private vows. They took their sweet time. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. And then when it came to the actual wedding, it's a beautiful garden ceremony, and the bride's walking down the aisle. The groom still broke down and was crying at the front of the at the altar.
Yep.
So it goes to show you can have that first look and the emotional moment at the same time. And something else I tell people who are kind of on the fence about it, and if they want to be traditional in that sense, where they want the first time they see each other to be at the aisle. If you're a bride and you've got a veil with your dress, don't wear the veil for the first look and then put it on for the ceremony. So it's kind of like you almost
Oh
get two
yeah, yeah,
first
yeah,
looks in a way. It's
for
like a nice
sure.
little trick, and it's worked out that way before as well. So
Yep. Yeah.
yeah, there's in my opinion, there's no excuse not to do it, and unless both of you just don't want to do it, then that's fine. If both of you don't want to do it, don't listen to us. But if you want the logistical advantage, if you want that private moment with your person, it just seems kind of like a no-brainer. There are some things too where I think social media plays into this in a way where some people try to go a little bit over the top with first looks. We haven't seen it too much ourselves, but
Yeah,
we've
we
heard
haven't
other
seen too
vendors
many of
talking
them.
about it. Um, what a lot of people like to do too is, in addition to kind of like first look with your partner, um, a lot of times like a bride and her dad might want to do a first look. That's
Right.
like that's fine.
Yeah,
Think
we
about
see
it though.
those pretty regularly.
Yeah. Think about it though. Like if you think that's gonna be a worthwhile moment for you, because then that almost starts to it's two things. It starts to add additional things to the timeline instead of it being a logistical advantage. Um, and there's a lot of dads out there who aren't like built for emotional moments like that. So it almost ends up being awkward. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, yeah, there's
Like,
been many first looks with dads, first looks with brothers that have been very awkward for like us and the photographer to capture because it not the actual event of like the first look happening. It's just like that family dynamic is not like this. Like they're not super close. They just wanted it for like the photos or for the video or whatever. And I think if that's the reason, you shouldn't do it. Like only do it if you're actually close with your dad or if you're actually really close with your siblings and you'll get a nice reaction. But yeah, there's a couple times that I can think of where it did feel pretty awkward.
yeah. And I think a lot of there's another kind of like popular trend where the groom will be waiting for first look, and groomsmen will come up behind him and be like dressed in a bride's dress or something like that, and it's supposed to be funny. I feel like that at this point, if I see any of those now, I feel like that trend is kind of like overdone. And I think there's some
Yeah.
grooms I've heard. I don't think we've seen it personally at any of our weddings, but there's some grooms who like see that they're like, oh, haha, like funny, like they just kind of get off put because they were just ready to have like a genuine moment with their person, and it's kind of like you're getting a prank played on you, kind of. So there's a lot of things like
Right.
that happen where people see these trends online and they try to do too much. And I think we say this a lot, but that's a topic for another episode. Is talking
True.
about like getting caught up in trends and things like that. Because ultimately the wedding is about two people coming together and nothing else. So there's a
All
lot of
right. Well,
things surrounding first looks.
sticking on this episode, what about first touches? Like, what would you say your opinion on first touches are? Because it's like
We've
very
done a couple.
similar, but yeah,
It is a nice compromise. I don't think it works for every couple. Sometimes it's a little weird. Um, but
it depends how they do it.
yeah.
Like, some of them are like
Yeah.
very weird. Please no. But then there's some that are like, okay, yeah, that's okay. That's fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
like, please no.
I think first touch goes really well with if you're gonna do the private vows. I think
Yeah.
that's where it shines. Because if you're
Yeah.
like, I think if you're doing just a first look with like no private vows and you're just doing your vows at the altar or whatever you're doing for your vow situation, if you have something visual to like talk about with your spouse, I
Yeah.
don't.
The first look is still totally fine if you have nothing like to say, like the
Because you
vows.
can be
But
like, oh my God,
with
you look so great and that
with
sort
the
of thing.
first
But if
touch,
you're,
if you have nothing to read and you have nothing to see, what are you going to say?
yeah, you can talk about like the beginning part of your day and stuff like that. But I feel like it just might end up being a awkward conversation just for the sake of, I mean, some people, again, it depends on the couple. If you are very soothed by just talking to your partner, I think that's probably a good thing for you. And if you still
Sure.
kind of want like the traditional moment of seeing each other down the aisle for the first time, that
So
you
I
could
think
essentially be decompressed and, you know, you could kill two birds with one stone. You could have the traditional aspect and still be decompressed, but then there's some people it doesn't
yeah.
really work for, you know what I'm saying?
I think
What were you
their
gonna say?
first looks or first touches are designed more for photography. Like from a wedding videographer standpoint,
Yeah.
it just isn't really worth capturing because, like I said, nothing's really happening unless they're just having that normal kind of, it's like small talk conversations. It's really built for just a quick still image of it. Like a lot of the times they'll be like around the corner and reaching around. Like those are the ones that in particular I'm not a fan of because visually for a video, that does not look good. But you can definitely get more creative with photography in those aspects. But the ones that have worked that I can think of that we've done in the past for video, it's when they're just kind of standing back to back and they can hold hands behind each other and stuff like that. And they normally read their private vows in those moments. But yeah, I think it's definitely it can be a nice moment. I'm not saying it's not, but for
Mhm.
us as videographers, it's harder for us to capture, harder for us to make look good, and it's more designed for photos, I think.
Yeah. And we're also not saying, oh, don't do a first touch because it looks bad for video. Like don't plan things in your wedding just for how it will be captured, which again, we'll talk about that in another episode. But like it is just something to think about where you might see that thing in your final video and you might be like, why did we do that? You know, like it just looks weird. So something to keep in mind as you're planning the wedding. It gets a little dicey at points, but
Yeah.
yeah, first looks. I mean, anything, any, do we have any kind of like first look horror stories? I don't really think so. I think the only things I can think of are when the photographer steps in too early, or maybe somebody else sees the bride or groom before they're supposed to. But other than that, I can't think of anything. Can you?
No, not like horror stories. I think all of ours have been like fine. There's been a couple that have just been, like I said, very, very short. They literally just turn around like, oh yeah, you look nice. We're done. I guess I will say like this has been said before. Like do something with your hands. Like don't just stand there. At least go in for a hug or something. Like if you
Oh
just turn
yeah.
around and stand there like hands in pockets, like yeah, you look good. Like that's a
Yeah,
little
you look
awkward.
good, dude.
Like at least go
It's
for
like
a
nice
hug.
job.
Like yeah. And then
Like,
yeah,
hey buddy,
as
you look great.
do something. But after that, yeah, if you want it to be 5 seconds, that's fine. But yeah, if you're just standing there hands in pockets, that's a little strange.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you're somebody who is leaning towards not doing a first look and then you get convinced by either us or your photographer, that could also lead to an awkward moment where you feel like you're just producing a moment for the vendors and it like it feels forced. So again, just be intentional with the choices you make. I know that for me, when I get married, the choice is intentional. Me and my fiance, we share that connection where, you know, the morning of is probably going to be a little stressful, and then when we see each other, like we're going to really feel a lot more relaxed. Like I know I'm personally excited for that moment, um to see her and all of her stuff. And then I also just know the logistical advantage that comes with it. I can enjoy my cocktail hour, whatever I pick for my signature cocktail. I can get one of those and not worry about snagging a bunch of family photos. I can interact more with my guests that I, you know, have taken all the time to select and invite intentionally for my wedding day. So, yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty much it. But I think this has been a quick one.
Yep.
Any other closing thoughts from your side?
Not really. I would say, like we've said multiple times here, we definitely think first looks are great. And selfishly for us, for the video, it gives us a lot to work with. So we will always be for the first look.
100%. Yeah, that's pretty much a wrap on this one. Make sure you guys, if you have other kind of like hot topics you want us to debate, talk about, send us a DM or submit a form on our website, which will be linked in the show notes below. Follow us on all of our social media. Instagram is at SeaMount Weddings. You can find us at SeaMount Weddings on YouTube as well. And leave us a 5-star review on Spotify. I'm forgetting all the things that you need to do. As I'm still getting used to the whole podcasting thing, but there's just do all the things.
Do the things down below. Yeah, that's it.
Do the things down below, and I guess we'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.
See you.